OpenAI promises teen safeguards. Critics say it's long overdue. Anthropic hits $183 billion valuation, doubling in just a few months. UK sites defying age check laws see visits surge, while compliant ones tank. One tech CEO brags about AI job cuts, while others play defense. And have we already crossed into artificial general intelligence? Welcome to #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. OpenAI says it will roll out parental controls and crisis safeguards for ChatGPT within 120 days. The move follows a lawsuit by the family of a 16-year-old Adam Rain who died by suicide earlier this year after months of conversations with the chatbot. Court filings alleged ChatGPT not only failed to intervene, but even helped him plan his suicide and draft a note. Critics say these risks were foreseeable. In Florida, Megan Garcia has sued Character.AI and Google after the death of her 14-year-old son. Her complaint alleges chatbots groomed and manipulated him over months, encouraged self-harm, and even role-played as fictional characters in adult relationships. In response to mounting pressure, OpenAI is promising features like parental alerts and escalation of troubling conversations to more advanced models. But they will not, apparently, claiming that privacy must be respected, report any suicidal thoughts or statements to the authorities. Meta, after a Reuters report showed its AI bots engaging in flirty chats with teens, says it will block sexual or self-harm content and redirect young users to professional help. Now, a RAND study has found that chatbots often miss indirect references to suicide, raising questions about whether these safeguards will be consistent. There may be the option of allowing parents to share in OpenAI accounts, although that's probably going to go over big. Observers say the lawsuits and policy changes highlight the need for stronger, proactive standards before more tragedies occur. Anthropic has hit a valuation of $183 billion after raising $13 billion in a round led by Iconic Capital. That's triple its valuation from March, and it reflects just how quickly the company is scaling. Anthropic was founded in 2021 by Dario Amodei, a former OpenAI vice president who left with several colleagues to build what they described as a safer, more controllable approach to artificial intelligence. Since then, it's become one of the fastest-growing firms in the sector. Its revenue run rate has jumped from about $1 billion at the start of the year to more than $5 billion by August, thanks in part to its enterprise-focused AI for software development. Investors are now valuing Anthropic at about 44 times its revenue, higher than OpenAI's multiple, which signals confidence in its growth trajectory. OpenAI is valued near $300 billion. It's hard to value just the AI component of Microsoft, Google, and Meta, but they do have their own valuations, and these have no doubt increased because of AI. But Anthropic's rapid climb has put it from a challenger firmly into the top tier. The UK's new Online Safety Act requires porn sites to verify users' ages with ID uploads or face scans. But the rollout has produced a striking side effect. An analysis of the UK's 90 most visited adult sites found that the 14 without age checks actually saw their traffic grow, in some cases doubling. By contrast, compliant platforms saw visits collapse. Many users are shifting to competitors without checks or using VPNs to get around the rules. A similar pattern has appeared in the U.S., where more than 20 states have passed similar laws. In Texas and Utah, traffic to compliant sites dropped sharply, while non-compliant platforms saw surges in new users. In some states, major sites even blocked access entirely, driving people to smaller, unregulated operators. UK regulators say they are pursuing enforcement against non-compliant sites, but critics argue that until enforcement catches up, the law risks rewarding rule breakers and pushing users towards less safe corners of the internet. AWS CEO Matt Garman was blunt in a recent interview. The idea of auto-replacing junior staff with AI is, in his words, the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He argued that junior hires are often most engaged with AI tools, and without them, companies risk losing the pipeline of experienced talent that they'll need 10 years from now. We covered this message before, and it fits with a broader theme that we're hearing more often from tech execs, that AI will create more jobs than it destroys. A more cynical view is that tech executives know that if the public really believes AI will leave them jobless, there could be a backlash. And those concerns aren't unfounded. Just the tech industry alone shed more than 150,000 jobs in 2024 and another 80,000 cut so far this year. That's from layoffs.fyi. With the exception of AI researchers commanding huge salaries, for most workers, the promised growth in jobs hasn't materialized. And if there's a coordinated effort to put some sunshine on these numbers, apparently one CEO didn't get the memo. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff recently said that AI had enabled his company to cut 4,000 jobs, particularly in support roles. So while some executives stress the need to keep investing in junior talent and maintaining that AI will create more jobs than it destroys, others continue to point to AI as a justification for shrinking their workforce. An article published in Psychology Today made me think. It described something that has been part of the general discussion over the past few weeks. We covered a story last week about whether we'd reached the limits of scaling, and I referred to two papers which essentially claim that reducing errors and hallucinations would take so much computing power that we would never achieve it. Case closed. But is it really? The Psychology Today article referred back to a paper that was published in January of this year from two professors at China's Tsinghua University, Yoren Sun and Babak Hagihat. The paper referred to a phenomenon that exhibited what they called a phase transition, where the model suddenly exhibits new abilities. This transition was attributed to the size of the model in terms of the number of parameters. In fact, they quote an earlier paper on the topic that concludes, "We observed that when the model's parameter size becomes sufficiently large, it exhibits behaviors absent in smaller models, an emergent phenomena." Which brings us back to our discussion, where scientists were saying we'd never scale to a model size that was large enough. The question becomes, large enough for what? To be absolutely accurate? Really? I thought what we were looking for was evidence of true understanding. And that, according to this January 2025 paper, may have already occurred. To understand what this means, it takes a bit of a refresher in how generative AI works. Essentially, these models are prediction machines. They take a word or a phrase, they turn that into tokens. From their vast array of training data, they predict what the next token will be, and the next, and the next. And at a certain size of model, as OpenAI discovered, these predictions produce what seems like intelligent text, everything ranging from poems to scientific essays and more. And that's what we've come to know as generative AI. Which is why the critics say that as intelligent as they might seem to be, they are just prediction machines. How do they look so intelligent? The sheer size of the model makes them appear to be intelligent. But this January paper casts doubt on that. It claims that another transition has already occurred. They call it a phase transition. It's a borrowed term from physics that describes when something reaches a certain point in temperature, pressure, whatever, it has a phase transition. That's where the entire model shifts into something new. Something that is magnetic ceases to be magnetic. It's physical characteristics like that. Colloquially, we might call it the eureka moment or a tipping point. And to be fair, this phenomenon in LLMs is not new. It's been documented in areas like mathematics and other behaviors where the model suddenly performs in a way it wasn't trained for. But this time, the researchers claim it's not just a new skill, it's a total change in understanding. Instead of dependence on word position and meaning, they assert that large language models have hit the phase transition where they instantly switched to a new comprehension based on meaning. Now take a minute for that to sink in. If they're right, models have already demonstrated an understanding based on meaning at their existing scaling. Now, you can talk about accuracy all you like. Humans are not models of accuracy. We can be fooled. We hallucinate. We recreate memories. A stage magician can make fools of us. So let's deal with accuracy separately. The point is, according to this paper, we've crossed the point already where we've moved from prediction machine to an understanding and all that that entails. Something to think about this week. I'll put a link to these papers and the Psychology Today article in the show notes at technewsday.com or .ca. Check it out. Sorry for the long last story, but I just saw that article, read it, and I couldn't put it down. It just made me think. And I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. All I'm saying is, this is fascinating. Now, speaking of fascinating, if you're hearing this on a Google speaker, I'm not just fascinated, I'm a happy guy. I have no idea what's going on with Google. We seem to be reliable on Alexa, and I think on all our other feeds. On Google, our tech guy's pulling his hair out, but we're still working on it. I can see the stats, but I can't check every feed out there. So reach out to me if you have issues or if you have ideas about how to fix this. And hopefully we'll get this back on the rails. And for the rest of you who don't get this on Google speakers, be thankful. But if you do experience issues, again, please contact me using the contact form on our website, technewsday.ca or .com. Both work. And as the great Mark Knopfler said, one more thing. Because we go onto YouTube, I wish I could play the outro for you, but it'd be a huge copyright strike. So you're just going to have to take one more thing as I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a wonderful Wednesday. It's playing in your head, isn't it?